leaving here with something. God, if you're going to put me in the trenches, I'm leaving here with something. It's hard because you don't want to make your relationship an idol or feel like that's going to complete you.
We didn't need a 2-bedroom apartment. We didn't. We like the ideal of, oh, we could do this, we could do that. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Growing in Love podcast for season 2.
Yes, Pinky's out because we fancy this season.
Oh my goodness, because you came from my water bottle right there.
Yeah.
Anyways, we are your hosts. We're glad that you are joining us for another episode. I am Austin Smith, and this is my wife,
Bria Smith.
And on this episode, we are going to talk about the pros versus the cons of getting married young, right?
Yeah.
We got
and not really the cons, you guys, but just a different perspective of,
things we, I don't say wish we would have known, but if we could spin the block again, what we would have did a little different.
Ooh, not spin the block.
Yeah, is that a different term? I don't know the terms anymore, so let me just be careful. Somebody told me I was old. We talked about it in episode 1. Said I was born in 1980s.
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy. I'm still triggered.
Okay.
All right. Anyways,
what are you going through this week?
I went first last time.
Okay, I can go. So, what are we going through? I think mine is going to kind of be in line with, stewardship, just because I feel like that is something that we've gone through.
Okay.
Recently that we're continuing to go through. So, I think I'm just growing through changing habits of spending.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm like a huge spender. I think that I just wasn't as aware. And so it's like small things. Like on the last episode, I was telling everybody about how like I braided my own hair.
Yeah.
And although that doesn't seem like it's, a big thing for me, it is big because if you're going to get your hair done, once a month, twice a month, that's around $200. It starts to add up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm just becoming more aware of things that I could just be saving on. I think I'm becoming more aware that, listen, I'm 31, retirement. I'm becoming aware of like retirement age and what age I want to retire in.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking more about financial freedom because sometimes I think that term is different for everybody.
Yep.
And so for me, I'm just like, I had to look at myself and say, you have to take responsibility of things that you're spending on, or even just trying to help out with that. Like, can I look at an app and find, listen, y'all, Publix app, if you guys shop at Publix has an app. I only know this because Austin used to work at Publix and he told me about it, but they have so many coupons on there, so many good deals. Like, do not be ashamed to be a coupon girly. Okay, because you can save a lot of money by looking at coupons. You can save a lot of money. But, like, Austin is really big on this. He has every app. So, like, he goes to Chick-fil-A, like, all the time. Like, I mean,
Listen.
He should, yeah. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so good. But he has a lot of reward points. So, he doesn't spend as much money at Chick-fil-A because he has a lot of reward points, right? And you can even do this at gas stations.
Yeah.
And I think now we're just challenging ourselves and we're saying, how much more money can we save? Do we need to buy that pair of shoes? Do we need to buy that outfit? Do we need to spend as much money as we had going out to eat? Can we cook inside more often, which is also more healthy for you as well? So we're just becoming more aware of our spending habits and learning how to steward better what we have.
No, that's good. I think I'm going to steal that too.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I know we have some episodes on the in the draft mode that we are going to talk about stewardship in more depth, but I think I'm right there with you as far as, being able to tell yourself no. And I think that connects with also, for me, discerning what is the right door. Like, when it comes to opportunities, and not just pursuing opportunities because you want the season to change, but really being discernful. And sometimes you ask God to, like, instead of praying to God about situations,
Mhm.
you make a decision and you ask God to bless it.
Mhm.
And I find myself like now being more sensitive and aware of that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if this is for me. So
Mhm.
let me not even go down this path.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just being even more aware of that as well.
Yeah.
Like, not just asking God to bless my decisions that I've already made, but actually like seeking Him for wisdom and guidance in those
Yeah.
decisions as well too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good.
So that's where I'm at right now. Let's get into this episode.
The
So we're
topic
we're
of the
talking about
episode.
marriage. I know we said pros and cons, but just essentially we're talking about what we wish we would have done different, or
And what we experienced because getting married early.
yeah,
People who don't know our stories, we got married at 23 and 24. To us, that's early. I mean,
yeah,
culturally, right now, it seems early. It seems like a lot of people are getting married later. I think I wouldn't even say pros and cons. There's just different things that usually happen when you get married early and different things and experiences that you may have if you get married later. Um,
hmm,
and for us, for me, speaking for myself, um, I think one of the things that we had to go through from just by getting married early is we had to grow through a lot of things
yeah,
um, while being married. And that's sometimes more difficult to do, right? Because if you are just now learning more about yourself, your frontal lobe isn't even developed fully until you're 25.
mm.
So
Got married undeveloped. Lord Jesus.
um, there's just so much that we have learned and understand more about ourselves now
Hmm.
that we're 31 and 33. And I feel like if we got married at this age, maybe we wouldn't have gone through as much things as we went through later or earlier, but maybe we would have, and we would have just gone through that at a later stage. I feel like,
Yeah, I think there would have been stuff. Either way, there would have been stuff that would have happened, right? Like
mhm,
because when you have two people who are coming together,
yeah,
like, and who when you become married, like that's a part of the package. Like whether you start early or you start quote unquote later down the line,
hmm,
you're choosing to grow with someone
yeah,
in marriage. So like, we're 8 years in now at the ages that we're at currently, which is really cool. Um, but it's also come with its own things.
yeah,
I know for myself, like I would I would say for me, I would have really emphasized and prioritized making sure that I prioritize like really pursuing you even more as a friend
yeah,
at the beginning of our marriage.
hmm,
And not just spending time with you, um, just to spend time with you, but
hmm,
like to spend time to like, and I think I was doing it right, but more so like not just like to check off a box,
yeah,
but to really get to know you and like to really, because sometimes like I'm the more serious person I think in our relationship. So again, I've said this before. When we got married, it was for me a part of it. Like in my mind, mentally, was like, okay, we arrived. Like we crossed the finish line.
hmm,
Like we've gotten married, and seeing it as a destination versus like, no, this is a continuous journey of becoming, of learning and growing and
yeah,
and all those things. So, for me, when we were dating, it was like I just need to get to know her to see if she's like going to be my wife.
yeah,
Like I'm trying to get to a target,
yeah,
which is cool. Like in the context of like you're either going to break up with that person or y'all gonna get married
hmm,
when you dating somebody. So there's no like really in between. The in between is just like it becomes a situationship, and it's not really going anywhere. And it's 7 years later, and he still hasn't proposed.
yeah,
You feel me? For me, it was just like, okay, like we established at the beginning, hey, we want something for the long term.
right,
Obviously, long term means like I want to pursue you eventually into marriage, but
right,
I'm not gonna say, yeah, I want to get married like day one, right?
yeah.
That's a little weird.
But that
Um,
was almost our experience, right?
well,
Because when we
yeah,
first met each other, our first conversation, it was just like, "What's your intentions?" And you were like, well, I see you as my wife.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah,
But
it wasn't like, and when I said it, I wasn't like tomorrow we're getting married. That's what I'm just saying. Like,
yeah.
the intention was like, yeah, like my intentions is like I'm pursuing you, like because I'm trying to see are you someone that I can see as yeah, as my wife.
Yeah.
I think I'm just trying to like balance it because some people hear that and then they rush into it. Like it's like, oh, we got to get this figured out tomorrow,
Yeah.
versus like you're trying to pursue this individual as like, oh yeah, this is my wife,
Yeah.
versus like, hey, can you get to know them as your friend?
Right.
And as you grow as a friend and you get to learn about them and you grow into intimacy with them,
Right.
the attraction grows even more. Like
Yeah.
I'm already attracted to you, but like as I'm growing, like as we're pursuing each other and like,
Right.
you know, everything doesn't have to be so serious. I think a lot of times I made it very serious in our relationship
Yeah.
because, you know, I gotta make sure like just breathe, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like
So
keep it late.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's the part for me is like when it comes to like the friendship aspect, like of really having fun with it. Like,
Yeah. I agree.
so that would have been my thing, like, because there was a lot of tension sometimes at the beginning stage of our marriage because we would spend time with each other, but spending time versus quality time was like two different definitions for us,
Yeah.
and that's where we used to butt heads. And I remember you used to say it frequently. He's like, yeah, like, you know, I want to grow in our friendship, and it used to bother me because I'm just like, what I heard was, oh yeah, our friendship's not good, so like we need to grow through that, and it's not. And I was like, bro, like we spend time together, but just because you're around someone doesn't mean that you're getting to know them, right?
Yeah.
So that would be part of mine.
That's so good.
What about you?
Things that I would do differently.
Yeah, when you initially think about like getting married as young as we did.
Hmm.
I got another one too.
I was gonna say I don't know if it's things that when I think about pros and cons of getting married as young as we did, I don't know if it's a con, but I think because we were so young, and not even just being young, I think because we were always so used to being in relationships,
Yeah.
um, we didn't really know ourselves very well. I can say that for myself. I was always looking for validation within men.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wasn't in a relationship, I felt like I wasn't doing something right, or I felt like there was something wrong with me.
Mm.
And I think I was just uncomfortable with just being with me and being by myself. And I think if I was to go back in my single stages, I would have just become more comfortable with being by myself.
Yeah.
Um, I think that there's some type of like power in like just being by yourself and like learning how to be comfortable with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you can build so much confidence in being by yourself, like just going on dates by myself, going on dates with, God. That sounds corny, but like for me, it's just like just spending time with yourself, spending time with just communicating with God. Like, I think that that is important
Yeah.
because I think then you get in a relationship and you get into a marriage and you can make that person an idol.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that I did. I think I made relationships an idol,
Mm.
right? Because I wasn't happy unless I was in a relationship. And
Mm.
then you're always trying to prove yourself to a person in your relationship because you feel like, okay, well, if I've always had to find validation within a person,
Yep.
then when something happens in our marriage, I'm always going to blame myself you know, or I'm going to spend my whole time trying to figure out how, you know, why we're not working. When you
Mm.
really should have an understanding of, hey, like I can bring this to God, or this person doesn't have to be my everything, right?
Yeah.
Like God is my everything first. Like actually I'm okay with being by myself. You can compliment me, but I don't like necessarily need you. Like I want you, but I think sometimes that can kind of I know in the beginning stages of our marriage, I could have like pushed you off just because of me not being okay with myself
Yeah.
and
That's
having
good.
insecurities within that.
So how do you so continue that? How do you feel like you know? So if there's someone who's watching right now who's in the similar seat, right,
Yeah.
and they're always used to being in relationships, there's a sense of validation in that. How you're encouraging someone like, hey, it's okay to be by yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay to get to know you. It's okay to go on dates with Jesus. So it's okay to go to the movies by yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. It's definitely cheaper. Amen. But all jokes aside, it's just like, okay, there's two seats at the table that I keep on using that analogy, but it's what's been working for me. But there's one seat that says, okay, cool, I'm cool with that, but how do I know that I'm ready when the time comes? The other seat that I would like for you to potentially speak to is, yeah, like I've been cool with that, and it seems like that time is not coming at all. So what do I do with that? Like, does that make sense? So like one
Yeah.
person is like, man, I really resonate with that, Bria. Like, okay, how will I know when I am ready?
Yeah.
The other person is like, yo, it's been 5 years of doing this and it's getting old. So like,
Yeah.
what do I do with that too?
Yeah.
From a woman's
Um,
perspective or just in
I would
general.
just say that one for first of all, for the person who feels like you've been getting to know yourself and you feel like you're at a really comfortable place with that and you're comfortable with yourself, you feel like you are becoming more self-aware. I want to just be empathetic with where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I haven't experienced that because I did get married so
True.
early and we got married out of college, but I definitely can be empathetic with you because I understand what it feels like to have feelings of, not even loneliness, but just wanting to be with someone and having the desire to be married. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that that is human. And if God has given you that desire, then I feel like, prayerfully, He is going to, put you with someone. But I think it's hard because you don't want to make your relationship an idol or feel like that's going to complete you. I think it's fine to have a desire, but I don't think it's good to feel like that's going to make you whole.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, you have to really be surrendered,
Mm.
right? Surrendering your feelings to God, surrendering your emotions with God, being vulnerable with Him of how you're feeling and, the space that you're in. And then also be okay with God's timing,
Mm-hmm.
which is really hard to do. Um, but it's building something within you and just figuring out, like, during the season, like, what type of lessons can I learn throughout this? Because I think that's one thing that we're learning right now. Like, it may not be in the aspect of marriage or for a relationship, but I feel like whenever God has given you a long suffering season, it's
Mm-hmm.
for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to build so much within you, and it may be uncomfortable, but as much as you can, try to find Jesus in the situation. I feel like that's the thing that has helped me. It's just like, can you find Jesus? Like, in the days where you're just like, God, you are taking so long. Like, how can I find Jesus in this day? Like, how can I find him? And I think not even God revealed that to me one day when we were going through so much, talking about financial conversations. I mean, being upset by opportunities that we felt like just weren't happening for us. And I was reading that day, and my only objective was, can you find Jesus in this passage?
Mm.
And I remember God talking to me, and He's like, "That's what I want you to do every day. Like, because if you find the enemy, if you look for the enemy, you're gonna find him, right? He's always looking for someone to devour.
Mm.
But if you look for me, you're gonna find me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that. The His word says that.
Yeah.
If you seek me, you will find me.
Mm.
And so God has just been showing me, like, seek me. Like, I know you think that that other thing is a reward. I know you think that that job is a reward. I think you think that that relationship is a reward. Fill in the blank. But seek me, and I'm
Yeah.
going to show you that I am the reward. And
Mm-hmm.
in our minds, in our carnal minds, sometimes we're going to be like, oh, but you're not. I want this different type of relationship. But I think what we're not understanding is that, like, God wants so much more for you. You can be wanting a relationship, and God could be wanting to transform you and who
Mm-hmm.
you are. Like, and you just never know what He's going to do, but you truly have to trust His timing, and you truly have to surrender what you're feeling to God.
Yeah.
And that's really the only advice I can give, because I mean, I know things are hard. Like, it's tough,
Yeah.
for me to be like, all right, like, just trust God. It sounds cliche, but at the same time, it's just like, in certain situations, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah.
gonna have to trust God. You're gonna have to find Him. As hard as it may be, you're going to have to seek you don't have to try to find Jesus.
No, that's good.
And I feel like for me, it was like, I don't know, like, and not even just like focusing on bettering yourself. Like, one of my things for us is like, even though we feel like we know that God is about to open a door, what can we be doing in the midst of that? Like, if God provided a job for you and it's six figures, but if you never took this time to steward what we have now, when you get the six figures, will you be able to steward it well?
Right.
Because you can have money, but it's not about having money. It's about being able to keep it and steward it well.
Yeah.
Because there's people who make millions of dollars a year, but if they buy $1 million car, then you're
You're broke, Jack.
you're broke. This is a person who's making $50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, yeah, you can have the same, but what if God is preparing you to sustain it?
Yeah.
Right. So what can you be doing to prepare yourself for what God is about to bring you into?
Yeah, that's good. That kind of ties in with mine, like, because
You know what I was about to say just now, though? What
Go ahead,
God,
baby.
not God brought in my head. It has to be me because I don't know if God thinks of memes. But
God is creative.
but you know
Don't
the
box him in. Don't
the
box him, my
Denzel
Lord.
Washington meme where he's just like,
I'm coming out with something.
I'm leaving here with
I'm
something.
leaving here with
And
something.
that has been my mindset. I'm like, listen, if I'm gonna go through this, let me
That's
tell you
real.
something. I'm leaving here with something. God, if you're gonna put me in the trenches, I'm leaving here with something. Okay? Even some wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaving with the ability to climb up a mountain. Okay? I'm about to leave with some cute little sexy calves. If I gotta climb up out this mountain, I'm about to leave here with something. Okay, you gonna know I done been through this and I done came out.
But you know what the thing is, though? You said sometimes when God puts us in the trenches, the reality is, too, is when we put ourselves in the trenches.
Yeah, sometimes we jump in that. Yeah, sometimes we jump in the trenches.
And that would be my thing, where it's like another thing I would have done different is like learning to take your time when you first get married. Like, take your time, that you don't have to arrive at whatever this place in your mind is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were 24 and 23, but you don't have to, like, 25 is not the breaking point. Like, 30 is not the breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
And really practical, like, our first apartment together, we had a 2-bedroom apartment in Charlotte for 2 people. Like, living within our means. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
we didn't need a 2-bedroom apartment.
yeah.
We didn't. We like the ideal of, oh, we could do this, we could do that,
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, and Z. And then life just happened.
Yeah.
You know, you lost, you had got
Laid off.
due to some cuts within the company that you were at the time. And we had never navigated through that, you know, as far as, okay, like, you know, with our liabilities and like our assets. And that's why, like, I'm excited about this season as far as talking more about like stewardship. But a part of the stewardship problem is just like, you know, living within your means as well.
Right, not comparing yourself to other
Yeah,
people.
like, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a pressure of like, all right, we got to get a house like this quick, or we got to do this, we got to do that. Like, we could have made that 1-bedroom apartment work, you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of times where you just feel like, well, I'm not doing enough, or, you know, this isn't good enough. But to your point, it's like, can you really steward a home if you haven't stewarded this 600 square foot space? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that would be one for me, because it's just like, as a priest and a provider, I think a lot of this just literally just hit me. A lot of times we focus on the provision as far as like obtaining it, but to your point, when it comes to being a provider, I think a part of being a provider is also being a great steward as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and how do we manage what the Lord is bringing in?
Yeah.
So it's being able to say no, and also being able to, when your spouse says no, you don't take offense to it, because you feel like, oh, you never let us do anything. And obviously there's a balance to it, right?
Yeah.
But being able to be on the same page and be in a place of alignment, because Bree is like, in our marriage, Bree is the one that likes like experiences and stuff like that. Like, that's something that's important to her, and I'm grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we've learned together right now is like, okay, when can we put these experiences on the calendar?
Right.
You know what I'm
When's the right
saying?
time
When's
for
the right
'em?
time?
Mm-hmm.
And being okay if I say no, not right now, versus like, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that takes time, but it also takes like being able to be uncomfortable with having those type of conversations
Yeah.
of like, hey, this is what it is and this is what it ain't right now.
Mm-hmm.
The math is definitely math and cool. We can do it. The math, it's not there right now.
So I
You know what
was
I'm
gonna say,
saying?
because that does go in line with stewardship when it comes to things that I think you should be ready for a relationship.
Yeah.
I think one of them is if you're committed. Like if you can't be committed to your job, you probably can't be committed to a marriage. I'm just saying. Like
Yikes.
if like you keep always quitting your job
Yikes.
because you get tired of it.
No, that's good though.
I mean, because I think one of the biggest foundations or factors in a marriage is commitment.
Mm,
It's a covenant.
mm,
It's commitment. Like it's not always going to be like your wedding day.
mm-hmm,
Okay, it's not always going to be like your honeymoon.
mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times when we watch shows like Love Is Blind, everything is all good in the honeymoon
With
phase.
them gold cups.
That first
They
week,
take them gold cups everywhere. I'd be
that
like,
first
bruh.
week you in paradise, everything is all good.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is looking good. You know, you haven't been hit with reality. You know, the real hard stuff has not set in. But as soon as you go back to the new apartment
Yep.
and you are set in with life and you're
Mm-hmm.
settled in, that's when it gets real. And I think if you are not a committed person, you will not last in a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lifetime thing. You just can't go running. You can't avoid the uncomfortable conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be committed. And so that's one thing that I feel like if you're trying to figure out, am I ready? Are you a committed person? Are you willing to be with someone for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Through good and bad. And you got to think about the vows that you say. Like sometimes people think so much about the marriage, but like, have you ever read the vows?
Mm,
Have you ever read marriage vows? Do you
yeah.
understand what you're doing? Do you understand what you're committing to?
Yeah, that's good.
For sickness and in health. This means if this person gets hit by a car, they can no longer use their limbs, their legs. They can no longer walk again. Are you okay with, you know, helping this person use the bathroom
Mm,
for the rest of your life?
mm,
Are you that committed? For richer or poor, if this person loses their job and you have to work two jobs to be able to provide for your household,
mm,
are you still committed? Like, those are the hard things that you actually have to think about. Like, if you're not
yeah.
willing to go that mile, why are you getting married? Because that's what you're. Those are the vows.
Yeah.
So
That's real though.
it's serious.
Yeah, because like on the wedding day, like everything is so glorified. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
decorations, you know, the the garments that you're wearing, the food, you know, it's and great. It's a great time. Your family, your friends are there. And when you spend this money for this day, not realizing that like after you come home from the honeymoon, if you do come home or if you do go on one, once you come home from the honeymoon, like the reality of life is
It's gonna
there.
hit you.
You know what I'm saying? And I love what you said about this commitment to the vows because just like for me, man, it makes me think about like our vows, and we're like at year 8 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But like even thinking about like vow renewal as
Mm-hmm.
well, because just like man, like if you be honest, you can really forget like what you said yes to,
Yeah.
and not that like you know you wanting to like divorce or anything like that, but sometimes you just need a reminder of like no, like when things get hard,
Yeah.
like this is what I said yes to. This is who I said yes to.
Yeah.
Um, which is important.
Another pros and cons of getting married
Talk to me.
early.
Talk to me.
Okay. I don't know what the dating pool is like, but I
I
know
hear it's not
culturally and
no
and
bueno.
and I don't but I feel like from what
No
we've been
mas.
hearing is that it's not as good. And I think I don't know, sometimes that can be very discouraging, especially if you're a believer and you are believing for a husband
Yeah.
and you feel like I know I was watching the Nice and Neat podcast and they were talking about how there's a scarcity mindset sometimes with women,
Mm-hmm.
where they feel like if they feel like there's not enough Christian men out there, whenever they do find a Christian man, they'll kind of just settle for anything,
Yeah.
right? Or they'll just allow anything. And I feel like it's really important for women who are wanting to find someone, who are in the dating scene, to, if you feel like you have set standards for yourself and you have deal breakers, stick to those deal breakers. Don't compromise them just because you feel like, oh, this person is never going to come again. Oh, it's so hard to even find a Christian man. No, it's not. Like, stop listening to what culture is saying and listen to God. Like, if God is telling you, hey, I don't want you to date A person, if he does not believe in God, or if he does, if he doesn't have a relationship with Jesus, and this person is like, oh yeah, I'm spiritual, I believe in God, like, but I just don't know about that Jesus thing.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I don't see you neither then. Okay? And that's something that you need to be committed to. And so I also think that you have to see yourself valuable enough to know that you deserve what you deserve.
Yeah.
Like, if that's what God is calling you to, then don't compromise that. Like, God is going to bring the person that He designed for you. For you to get in a marriage with someone that God has not designed for you is setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And the goal is not to get married, the goal is to stay married. The
Yes.
goal is to be in a godly marriage. The goal is to be in a marriage with a person who God designed specifically for you.
Mm.
So you don't want just anything. And when
Mm-hmm.
you understand the seriousness of your commitment, you're not going to want to be stuck in a situation with someone who is not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's miserable.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being married to someone knowing that, like, oh dang, like I knew I shouldn't have married him.
Yikes.
Like, I knew the signs. Like, I knew he didn't have a relationship with God. Like, I knew he was a weed head. Like, I'm just like, girl, like, you knew that. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you knew that beforehand, and you still chose to be with him because you thought nobody else better was going to come along.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like, you need to be confident in who God made you. You need to be confident in who you are, um, and be okay with the standard that
Oh no, I
God has
seen
set for
Mike.
you. Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, ooh, I'm over here.
No, just come up. You talking good, but just want to make sure the people can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
But no, I love that too. I think the other thing I would add for myself is starting earlier with the uncomfortable conversations and
Oh, yeah.
being okay with that. Really, you need to start having those conversations when you're dating, but especially in the context of marriage. Like, I think the uncomfortable conversations in the dating phase
Yeah.
helps you to know if this person can handle that
Mm-hmm.
in marriage. I don't think marriage is like the first time you should be having those conversations, obviously.
Right.
But definitely being okay with the hard conversations, whether it be about money, whether it be about, like even for us when we first got together, it was different for someone to like disagree with me, like when it came to like in particular like with like faith and everything. It used to bother me because I'm like, do you believe or not? Like, bro, like don't stop challenging me. And that sounds crazy to say that out loud. One is prideful, but then two is just like it wasn't that you were challenging necessarily the faith. It was more so like, hey, like, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
And when you're not really secure in what you believe and someone challenges that and shakes the table, it really reveals what's actually there.
Yeah.
So, I'm thankful like for our relationship. You're the person in the relationship that like likes to look at the other side of the coin. And that just comes just from how you're wired and how you're designed. But I also think it's good to have those uncomfortable conversations where it's like, yeah, like you don't want someone who always agrees with you. You don't want someone who always sees the same as you.
Yeah.
Because if we see things in the same light, there could be something that we're missing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So,
So good.
and not taking offense to that, like when I am challenged by a different perspective, not to shut down and not to get defensive, as this is an attack on my identity. Where it's no, like this is how I choose to see it. I still love you. Disagreement, because the way I'm wired, I'm a peacemaker. So like if there's like not harm, if it's not like harmony or like a good synergy, then I think that is a disruption, and now there's going to be division, and now it's going to be a whole thing, and now we're not going to be friends, and then you just go down the whole rabbit. Like it's like, bro, it's like
Yeah.
I just don't agree.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like tell me why, and we can still be friends, and we can still love each other, and we can still continue about our day. It doesn't mean that like I'm a bad person, you're a good person. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
the beauty of like difference,
Yes.
and that's okay. And like you need that in your marriage because in certain seasons you're gonna need different perspectives on like, hey, I'm so used to doing like this, but maybe we need to pivot in a different direction.
Yep. That's so
But if you
good.
don't let go of pride, it's like you will dig yourself in a ditch even deeper
Yeah.
when there's other perspectives that are available, but because you've always done it your way, you don't want to get out the way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like really,
Good.
embracing the difference. Like the
Yeah.
difference doesn't have to be a divide. I think the difference can actually be an advantage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that'd
Yeah, that's good.
be my thing. So
I think one thing I wanted to add is if you're a person, if like you're young, you think you want to get married, but you're not understanding that with marriage comes it comes a lifestyle change, right? So it's just like some people want to get married, but then at the end of the day, it's just like you can't be married, have a family, have kids, and do certain things that you used to do
yep.
when you're single. Even have that type of mindset. Like everything is, you have to consider somebody else. You have to understand that you're doing this with someone else. And I think when you get married young, and maybe even just within marriage in general, there's something that you're going to have to learn is, hey, things are different now. And I think one of the things that we had to learn is just like when you are married, you have children, you're not in the same season of life where you can just be like, oh, okay, like I'm just gonna like quit my job and I'm gonna start this,
This rocket business.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, no, you got mouths to feed now.
Yeah, you
You can't just start a rocket business.
You can't become a rapper at this age anymore. Like the dream.
Wow.
Because people I'm not starting a rocket business. I had to like actually like pinpoint.
yeah.
Because people be like, yeah, I'm gonna start this dream. Like
You can't make. It's about time you stop making beats.
all right.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not just kidding. I just didn't want to be mean. I'm sorry.
Here's the thing. Like it's not about.
You can make beats because producers make a lot of money.
Whether you making beats or whether you're trying to start like a business, the point is
your lifestyle is gonna have to change. You can't be upstairs in your basement making beats to 10 hours.
There needs to be calculated decisions that you're making.
Right.
When you're making these decisions.
Yes.
If I am going to take a risk of being a music producer, what is the end goal in mind?
Make sure you saw God.
Because I don't want y'all to think we just out here spraying and just crushing dreams.
Sorry.
But the thing is just like, it's easier to do that when you're single because it's not affecting mouths to feed, but your own. I can eat PB&J, I'm good. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But when you have two boys, when you have a wife, it's a different story where like, I just can't quit my job because I feel like God told me so.
Yeah, it's like you can make beats on the side. I'm sorry, because I really don't want to come off as offensive because there's nothing wrong with making beats.
Right.
I love a good beat.
Right.
Okay.
So
I love a good beat. I be on the treadmill. Sometimes that's the only way I keep running miles from a good beat.
I think y'all get my point, though, right? We have to calculate the cost.
Right.
So
I don't even know where we were, what we were talking about.
Because you just finished spraying people.
No, I'm not, because I like a good beat.
I had to make some.
But just make sure you do it on the side.
She got the feet out and everything. Listen,
make sure you do it on the side, okay?
I'm
You got
home.
kids. Make sure you make them beats on the side.
All right. Is there
I'm just saying.
is there anything else on this episode
Let me see. I know we had some questions.
that you wanted to touch on?
We had some questions. Okay, yeah, we said, how do you know when you're ready to get married individually and collectively? I think, the measure of commitment is very important.
Yes.
If you could go back at the beginning of a relationship, things that you would change. I think we said that, like, definitely keeping it light.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of things. Like, I mean, not a bunch, but like other.
Well, one thing that I get so excited about how we're able to do now is really how we work together as a team.
Yeah, it's not competitive anymore.
Yeah, it was very competitive at the beginning.
Yeah, that was Lord.
And I think once you get over that, you realize how much fun it is in actually building something with someone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like some people have been married for 10, 15, 20 years. And whenever there's a conflict that comes up, they feel like the conflict is between each other.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like the game changer for us is realizing that, like, it's not between us. Like, we're on the same team. Yep. All we have to do is communicate our issues and work through it, and we're going to be able to get through it. Like, we are one of the most resilient forces, and that is a godly marriage.
Yeah.
But I think in the beginning, whenever we had a conflict, we were always trying to prove to the other person why it was your fault or why it was my fault or why I needed to change this. Or instead of being like, you know what, we can build on this. We can actually be better at this. But I think that, you could do this better,
Mm-hmm.
and the end goal is so that we can resolve the issue, is never so that you can feel bad about it. Because at the end of the day, I don't want you to feel bad or feel like, you are what you did. I'm only trying to help us get to a place so that we can build together.
Yeah, and I think that just comes with communication,
Yeah.
which is like one of the generic themes that people always talk about in marriage,
Mhm.
but they don't go into the nuance of communication,
Yeah.
where it's like your intent versus the impact.
Mhm.
I think we focus more so on just getting it out of our mouth,
Mhm.
and this is what needs to be said, versus like people knowing, hey, this is my intent of what I am saying.
Yeah.
But also you can say the intent, but being very cognizant of like, hey, no, this is how it's going to impact this person. And obviously you can't always control how it impacts,
Yeah.
but you can control like, hey, I'm telling you, I'm not coming against you, but this is where I'm coming from. How
Yes.
you receive that and the filter that you receive that isn't always on the person giving that information, because
Yeah.
I could say it as nice and neat as I want to,
Mhm.
but if you still have a filter that you haven't checked and you haven't fixed your lens,
Right.
it don't matter what kind of, it could be uh Aquafina, Dasani, Pure Life. It can be, the content of the water doesn't matter if the filter is dirty.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's just like that's why I say communication has to be a two-way street, where it's just like, yeah, impact and intent of what I'm saying, but also
Yeah.
how's your filter? Because if you're still if you're hearing something from your spouse from a broken relationship with your parents,
Right.
then you're punishing your spouse for something that your parents did.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to them. So you won't be able to have the uncomfortable conversations because you still hear your mama or you still hear your daddy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
It's good.
um, yeah, I think that's another great thing too.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love it.
Well, there's more things that we could talk about in this, but I mean, we just wanted to give a couple things, and I
Yeah.
also don't want this episode to end up being like an hour
Yeah.
or 2 hours or something like that.
Mhm.
But essentially, yeah, like these are just small contributions on how we can continue to grow. Um,
Oh, I have something I want to
oh,
add.
good.
Um, since we're thinking about possibly doing a Patreon, if there are any ideas of content that you would like to see,
Yeah.
whether it's like behind the scenes content, how we come up with these topics that we have, if you're wanting to see us on like everyday type lifestyle type content, let us know about that too.
Yeah.
Because I like making those things. I do those things on TikTok. I can probably bring those back.
Yeah.
And if you want to see them on Patreon, then we can always, make a separate section about that. So yeah.
Yeah. Let us know. Let us know. As always, we appreciate the support that you guys give us. For those who are currently giving, we have our links in below to how you can partner with us.
Oh, I have another one.
What's that, baby?
If you are a Christian and you are single, let us know. So, you could possibly find your future spouse in our comments. Just shoot your shot. Like, put your information down. If you're single, I would love to be a little matchmaker. Like, we've actually been wanting to do that
Well,
for a while.
we can't get that. Don't.
Oh, I'm saying.
Because you about to release that. So we have
Yeah, but I think that would be fun.
we have an idea that we're working on.
Yes.
All right, but we'll release that later on.
But there's a lot of Christian singles that watch our podcast. So if you're a Christian single,
But don't be putting spam in the comments about how you make beats.
I can. If you're a Christian single, write your age, your name, your age, your Instagram handle, so somebody can slide in your DMs. Okay.
Jesus.
And this is not for a hookup. We're wanting people who are intentionally wanting to find someone who is a believer, who is also a believer, and who wants a relationship.
And we have something else coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
God be praised.
Don't be afraid to shoot your shot. Don't be afraid to be the first one. Okay?
Thank you again for joining us. We love you guys.